Today I'm going to take a quick look at this new model from GWM, from Great Wall Motors. This is the ORA 07. It's here already in Thailand, and this is the right-hand drive version for Thailand, but it's not yet in the UK, but coming very soon to the UK. So I think this might be of great interest to people in the UK who are thinking about this car. So this is the angle that a lot of people will have seen the car already, because it shows this rear section, which is very similar to the Porsche Panamera. I think this is very deliberate that they've styled the car to look something like the Porsche. It has this quite spectacular tinted sunroof, which goes all the way back, a glass roof all the way back over the far, the rear section of the car, right into the boot area, the trunk area of the car. And what it shares with the small sister, if you like, of this particular model, the so-called Funky Cat, or the Good Cat, it's called in Asia, the small model that is made by GWM. What it shares is this elliptical headlight design. So these are the technical specifications of this particular model. This is the ORA 07 Performance, and most of it's written in Thai, but some of it is in English. So lithium-ion cathode, NCM anode graphite battery. I can see it says here 171 watt hours per kilometer, there must be. A range of 550 kilometers. Ambient lighting it mentions here, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Voice command system. Follow me home, I'm not too sure what that means. And this particular model is 1.5 million Thai baht. Okay, let's have a closer look at this car. Now, this is a very interesting design here. Quite sporty with these sort of aluminium elements. Yeah, very attractive actually. Like a lot of these new EVs coming from China, very modern design. They're really quite attractive, I think. And it's a sporty looking car. I say the rear of it reminds me of the Porsche Panamera. So you've got that sort of Porsche Panamera look, and it has very similar, if not identical, headlights to the Good Cat, the small sister of this car. And again, they remind me of the headlights of the Porsche 911, or of actually reminds me a little bit of the old E-Type Jaguar. I think they used to have very similar shaped headlights. This is an interesting looking car. I don't know if it's a new model. Perhaps this is a model which hasn't yet hit other markets like Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, in which case this is a chance to look at perhaps the first or one of the first right-hand drive versions of this car. I'll have to try and find out a little bit more about it. It's quite a sizable rear compartment in the car. It's obviously much more of a family car than the little Good Cat. Maybe I can take this one for a test drive as well sometime. Okay, let's have a look at this mechanism here on the tailgate. Yeah, I think we just pressed the button here. That's all right. It's electric, so up it goes. There we go. Don't really see very easily. Okay, here's the light. It's adjusting a little bit to the light. Now, I don't know if it's possible, but I'll ask these nice Thai salespeople if they could possibly fold down the seats for me. Okay, now the back seats are being folded down, so There's the one seat's gone down already, and there's the second seat. So let's have another look. Okay. Okay. It's quite a high lip to get over into that boot area or trunk area in the car. But obviously with the back seats folded down, you get far more cargo space, luggage space. And so if you're only using this car for two people, one or two people, it's not an impractical car. Although of course, as I say, the tailgate is really quite small. So it's not quite going to compete with an estate car. So for closing the trunk, press the button, stand back, there we go. Right, okay. Now I'm going to take a seat in the front of the car, in the driver's seat. Obviously these door handles retract as soon as you set off. Let's take another look here with the right-hand drive version of this car. I guess the models coming to the UK or possibly also to Australia and New Zealand would look very much like this one, I imagine. So let's take a look. So this is the cockpit. Very sporty, as I say. This particular model, of course, in the showrooms has never been driven, so we've still got all the cellophane wrapping stuck to the steering wheel and so on, and of course also on the seats. I believe these are leather upholstered seats here, and they've still got their plastic wrapping on them, keep them nice and clean. And this also here has got foil, adhesive foil stuck to this part of the central console here. It has quite a massive area here. I don't know why. That's a little bit excessive, I think. Maybe it's the lighting system here, internal lighting. There we are, yes. Lights are coming on, but this is really quite, here's something. I guess this is where you put your sunglasses, in here. Okay. You've got a whole lot of different lights here. I'll say quite a substantial module on the glass roof. So I notice it's got an Infinity brand speakers here set into the door. So I guess that's one of the features of this particular version of the car. Infinity is quite an upmarket hi-fi brand from the States. So that's interesting to know. So now I get a chance to actually test drive this new ORA 07. And as with all these EVs, the big display in the center of the console is very much the centerpiece of the car. There, zooming in, you can see our own car there highlighted, shown on the display. And I'm just increasing the temperature here because the Thais like to have the air conditioning turned down really low, so you freeze in the car. But I think 20 degrees is fine. It shows a range of 388 kilometers, which obviously is very useful information. There again, you can see our car with the indicator flashing there to the right. I don't think the display is as good as in the car which I drove last week, which was the Xpeng G6. I thought that display was better than this. One of the things that the Thai salesman did for me is to set the car to one pedal driving. You can see their energy recovery level, low, medium and high. And when it's set to high, it means that the braking effect when you take your foot off the accelerator is more pronounced. And I think what happens is that the energy released by the engine when it's decelerating is sent back into the battery. So it has that regenerative effect on the battery.
And it makes, like it says, it makes it possible to drive basically normally with only 1 foot. You don't really normally need, except obviously in emergencies when you have to brake very suddenly, you don't normally need to use the brake pedal at all. Just take your foot off the accelerator and the car will naturally decelerate as if you had put your foot on the brake. It makes it, when you get used to that, I think it makes it a very comfortable, very easy way to drive. One thing I would say is that, again, compared with the 2 other EVs which I drove recently, especially the G6, the Xpeng G6, I found this ride and the suspension of the 07 to be, well, not to be up to the quality of the other 2 EVs I drove recently. I found the ride to be a little bit jittery, as if the suspension wasn't really such a high quality, not as good as the Xpeng. In fact, the whole driving experience I thought was not as good as either of the other 2 cars which I drove recently. Neither the Zeekr X, which is made by Geely, the people who own Volvo, nor the Xpeng G6, which is supposed to be a new rival to the Tesla Y. Both of those cars, I think, felt better from a driver's point of view than this GWM 07. That was my feeling. Now, turning left here and using the left indicator, I didn't actually see that the display shows the camera view from outside the car. That's something that happened when I used the indicator in the Xpeng G6. When I used the indicator to the left, then the left-hand camera or cameras showed on the display, showed the view of the road on the display. And I didn't see that happening here. Now, it could be that the salesman didn't set the display to do that. So it may be that, in fact, normally the display would show the camera view when you turn left and right. But in that case just now, it didn't do that. So I'm not too sure whether it does, in fact, do that normally. I think that both the Zeekr X and the Xpeng G6, they are both more mass market cars than this rather unusual looking 07, GWM 07. And it could be that because the other 2 models I mentioned, are really mass market, mass produced cars, which are, sold far more than this one. Could be that those 2 other cars, that they actually optimized them more than in this case. It could be one of the reasons why I felt it didn't really come up to the same standards as those other 2 EVs.